Hello fans and friends, welcome to another video. My name's Keir Smith. I've seen a few videos on YouTube recently where people are pulling 10 albums out of their collection and quite simply presenting them as 10 enjoyable albums. Not necessarily the best albums, but 10 albums that you can play from start to finish, and when it gets to the end you think to yourself, that was good. So with that in mind, 6 or 7 albums came to my mind immediately, and it didn't take me too long to get a list of 10 together. Again, not the best albums, but here's my list of 10 enjoyable albums. These are in no particular order, so I'll start with this. This is the Traveling Wilburys Volume 1. And the Traveling Wilburys were a happy accident. George Harrison, Bob Dylan, Jeff Lynne, Tom Petty and Roy Orbison. They got together, sat in a circle playing acoustic guitars, singing, harmonising and allowing their songwriting craft to unfurl in a very natural way. And they delivered this thoroughly enjoyable and remarkably good rock and roll album. With all of that talent on show, they couldn't fail really, could they? Highlights include Handle With Care, Dirty World, Not Alone Anymore and the brilliant Tweeter and the Monkey Man. Up next is Tango in the Night by Fleetwood Mac, and this started life as a Lindsey Buckingham solo project before morphing into the next Fleetwood Mac album after the band had been on a 5-year hiatus. Stevie wasn't around much, but that only allowed the songs by Lindsey and Christine to shine through more on this polished pop rock album. Big Love, Little Lies and Everywhere were all really big hits, but the title track, Family Man and Isn't It Midnight are all excellent too. This is often my go-to Fleetwood Mac album. I love it. Up next is Flesh and Blood by Roxy Music, and this saw Roxy Music reduced to a three-piece of Brian Ferry, Phil Manzanera and Andy Mackay, and it saw the band moving towards a more commercial sound, but I really like it. They had big hits with Same Old Scene, Over You and Oh Yeah. I like the cover versions too. The Midnight Hour is good and a really interesting and different take on the Byrds classic 8 Miles High, and I can't resist Brian Ferry's moody balladeering on tracks like Rain 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 and Running Wild. This is an underrated album in the Roxy Music canon. Up next is The White Room by the KLF, and this is Jim Corti and Bill Drummond, and with a host of special guests they create this dance, house, rave masterpiece. It sounds like the best party followed by the coolest after party. What Time Is Love, 3 AM Eternal, Last Train to Trans Central, Build a Fire, the title track. It's a blast from start to finish. If you don't know this album, you should. Up next is Balance of Power by ELO, and this is an album that is largely discarded in the ELO canon, gone with the grandiose orchestral productions and in-came synthesizers, so the band's sound changed and that probably had something to do with it. But the quality of song remains high on this set of bright and bubbly pop songs. Highlights include So Serious, Getting to the Point, which is a wonderful ballad, Secret Lives, Sorrow About to Fall, Calling America, good songs with pop hooks. I'm a big fan of this album. Next is the Batman soundtrack by Prince, and this is from the 1989 film starring Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. My mum had bought this on vinyl for us when we were kids, so I have very fond memories of me and my brothers playing this endlessly. Bat Dance and Electric Chair especially are Prince at his funky best, and you get two great ballads in Scandalous and The Arms of Orion especially, which is a duet with Sheena Easton. And then you get this irresistible 3 in a row of Vicky Waiting, Trust and Lemon Crush, which showcase Prince's superb vocal range and his diverse melodies. I've loved this album for years and years. I always have and I always will. Next is Into the Great Wide Open by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and these are 12 well-crafted, up-tempo, mellow rock songs, polished and produced by the great Jeff Lynne, who has made his 3rd appearance in this video already. The acoustic guitars are noticeably bright on this album. It's a great guitar album, whether acoustic or lead guitar. Well sung, good lyrics. Learning to Fly and Two Gun Slingers are my favourites, but the title track Out in the Cold, Too Good to Be True, really good stuff. My next album was purchased only a year ago and it was influenced by fellow YouTuber John Heaton. He runs a great channel over there and he's a big Abba fan, and his enthusiasm for Abba led me to buy Voulez-Vous, and it turned out to be a fine purchase. Of course, I knew all of Abba's hits, as most of us do, but the Voulez-Vous album offers more of the same. Melodies are plenty, soaring vocals, and lots of little pop hooks in between. The title track is a dance floor classic and possibly my favourite Abba song, but as good as new, If It Wasn't for the Nights and Kisses of Fire certainly have me doing more than just tapping my toe. Up next is Rose Speedway by Paul McCartney and Wings, and I think this is a joyous set of well-crafted songs, good arrangements, Paul's in good voice, nice harmonies. It's the sound of Wings getting their sound together. It's a lesser known Wings album, but it includes the beautiful ballad My Love, punchy rockers like Big Bomb Bed and Get On The Right Thing, and charming ditties like Single Pigeon and One More Kiss. And finally, to round things off with the melodic masterpiece that is the 4-song medley. This album is a delight from start to finish. And lastly, a good friend of mine introduced me to this band many years ago, and this is A Tonic for the Troops by the Boomtown Rats. And I knew nothing of Bob Geldof as a musician, so I was pleasantly surprised by this pop punk sound with humour too. These are really good songs. We get songs about Eva Brown and Howard Hughes, of all people. The band rattle through Blind Date and the frantic Can't Stop. And it's home to the brilliant single, my favourite song by the band, Rat Trap. There's loads to enjoy about this album. And that's it, 10 enjoyable albums. A quick recap: The Traveling Wilburys, Volume 1, Tango in the Night by Fleetwood Mac, Flesh and Blood by Roxy Music, The White Room by the KLF, Balance of Power by ELO, the Batman soundtrack by Prince, Into the Great Wide Open by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Voulez-Vous by Abba, Rose Speedway by Paul McCartney and Wings, and finally A Tonic for the Troops by the Boomtown Rats. If you don't know some or any of those albums, give them a try. I recommend each and every one. And please let me know what you class as an enjoyable album, an album that you put on from start to finish and really enjoy. Please give the video the thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to the channel. There'll be lots more to come. Thanks as always for watching. See you next time.